Subscribe, please.
Hey guys, it's your favorite Gimp with a Limp, and I am here with the new game released by Vente Nuovo, hope I'm pronouncing that right, a company out of Italy. I actually messed that up when I was talking to Gimpy's gal, and she did the guesses on it. I had told her Spain originally, so that wasn't her goof, that was my goof. But this was just released. I just got my Kickstarter copy a few days ago, and I've been going over it, and I gotta say, there is an interesting game here. When I first backed it, I didn't even realize that the solitaire component was one of the main components of it. I thought it was kind of tacked onto it, but really it's the main core of the game, really. This is a block game, as you guys can see, and that is going to be specific, just like other block games, which you'll have noticed I don't have a whole lot of block games on my channel, just because the majority of block games can't be played solitaire just by their nature alone. The hidden information aspect, but that one actually works pretty well here. As far as the gameplay works, you guys will see that here in a little bit. Let's go over components real quick and just touch on the game. Before I touch on that, I'm gonna ramble for just a minute, so if you don't care about my personal shit, skip forward a couple of minutes. Just a FYI, I want to update you guys. She mentioned it in her video. Videos for me are going to get a little scarce now, just because we are heavy into the packing. We can't afford movers, so we're trying to pack slowly over a period of time, and between the two of us and the kids and me not being able to lift much, it's just going to take us a little while. So it's just, we're busy. We're trying to get ready for the move, but the cool part is they were showing me how they've got some extra insulation actually built into the walls of one of my rooms, because I told them about, doing this stuff and filming, and that I wanted a room that was a little more soundproof if they could do it. And they're like, yeah, we'll throw in some extra insulation. So hopefully I will have a dedicated room where I can do filming, and it'll keep outside sounds down to a minimum. I'm definitely looking forward to that. But while we're in the process of getting everything over there, it's going to slow me down for a couple of months. You guys, anyone who's moved before understands what a huge pain in the butt and struggle it is to pack up your life and move it to another building, and then unpack your life and try to make it all neat and great and shit like that. So if you guys don't see as many videos from me as you're used to, I'm sorry. I am absolutely swamped right now with everything that's going on. But I do appreciate the support. I will be cracking out as many videos as I can in the meantime. This was one I definitely wanted to touch on before we did get moved. I've got a couple more. I want to get another turn of Cataclysm in, because I've got some real cool stuff I want to show you guys in that. I love that game. It was really good. War of the Worlds by DBG. I want to try to get that on the table before we go. And then I've got some extra lock and load stuff, prototype stuff I want to get on the table. So got a lot of stuff I'm trying to get done before we get moved. But bear with me, I will do what I can. All right, now let's get back to Stalingrad. I gotta say, the theme of the game, all right, the Eastern Front, it is so swamped with games. I mean, any war gamer knows it. There are hundreds, thousands of games based on that area of World War II. And I mean, I get it. There's a lot going on there. Me personally, I like the Pacific Theater more. Just due to the fact that, I was in the Marines, so I'm going to like Marine crap more. It's just, who I am. And I'm probably going to get chastised for this, but I like the Western Front more than I like the Eastern Front. So for me, it would go Pacific Theater, Western Front, and then Eastern Front as far as stuff goes. But I gotta say, this is a interesting block game based on the Battle of Stalingrad, obviously along the Volga, which is the river that you see there along in the back, and it's a solitaire block game. Now, there's a lot of different components to touch on, but one that I noticed very quickly in Gimpy's gal's guesses that was missing is a player aid. They did not do a player aid for this game, and that is sorely missing. Okay, you can print off a couple from BGG. Obviously, people besides me noticed it was missing. German player aid, Soviet player aid. These are third-party made. I'm sorry I didn't get the person's name who made these, but you can download this off of BGG. It doesn't have everything on it that I would like, but it is a absolute improvement over having to try to dig it up in the rule book, has set up combat sequence, and a key thing is your cards that are in the game. Leader cards, support cards are over here, and then victory conditions and possible some extra rules. Big thing here on the top is on the back of the rule book is the Soviet AI, and they've got that listed down here. And then again, the same type stuff, combat sequence and support cards over here to the right. So I'm absolutely recommending printing these out, because that was a big misstep as far as Vente did in not having a player aid. I don't know if that was a cost-saving measure or they just didn't think about it, but I don't like having to try to dig into the rulebook. And when you're first starting out at this game, you're going to have to take and dig into that rulebook just because you didn't have a player aid that they can look at. Now, the objective of the game is relatively simple. There are specialized hexes here in the back. The ones that have red around them, those are Soviet spawn points. There's 6 of them, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 up there in that top right corner. And you're trying to take out those spawn points. Obviously, kill the Soviet troops there along your way. And you don't know what the Soviet troop strength is because they're face down. When you do attack these, you need to be very specific. I'm not going to show that one, but when you set them up in the specific stance, because their sides matter. And you guys will see that when we get into actual combat, because for your troops, whenever your troops, the German troops, spawn, they're always going to spawn at full strength. But the Russian troops don't necessarily spawn at full strength. They will spawn at whatever strength is their top side. So it's possible to have them be a reduced strength. They can't be eliminated. There is an eliminated side on some of these. But if you flip them over and it is on that side, you'll just take and turn it to the lowest dot. So 1 step is what you'll turn it to. So let's say this one here, if you turned it and that was the side that was up on top with no dots, you would simply just turn it so it faced as such with 1 dot there at the top. And like I said, all German troops will take and spawn at full strength. Now, there are boxes here along the top to take and place the potential Russian spawning troops. Way up there is tanks, and over here is infantry. I prefer to use the bags. It's just easier to randomize it, and I don't have as many blocks there just sitting out on the table to worry about. And they're even, they have the cool little pictures on them. T-34 there, and just a Russian troop. So I would recommend that over the placing them on the board. It's just easier. Now, there are a couple there at the top. Those are 2 special Russian Marine units that do get involved in special circumstances. The rest you'll see. Ooh, that's where I missed one. There is one right there. I'm gonna have to take in, draw a random troop. I was playing this before I started filming, so I had to reset it back to start and I missed it. So let's draw a troop, spin it around, and do that. What I was trying to show you guys, let's pan down and zoom in a little bit, and I'll show you guys what I'm talking about here. The little pink square, or pink bordered square here, is a spawn square. So you'll see that those are all over the map. I think there's like 22 or 23 of them. And you're going to take and place 1 Russian cube on each one of those random side up. And that's going to be where all the Russian troops start. The rest are going to be in those spawn bags that I was just showing you earlier. There are a few troops that start on the board, some of yours that are random, a few specific ones. Now, I did notice there was one error over here in the rule book, and I did not notice that until after I had already set the troops up. So I'm just going to leave it with what's here because I just didn't feel like having to dig through and try to find the other one. Let's see if I can get this little guy to focus in. This, the 15th, is what's written in the rule book, and it's not this unit. It's a different unit that's supposed to be there. If you look here on the map, I like how they have it set up to where the picture of the unit is there actually on the map itself that starts in. Unfortunately, I did not pick that up until I had already placed the other units on there, so I'm just leaving this one blue one that's actually not supposed to go there. Blue spawns up in the upper right, and then you can see there's one specific unit that spawns there, and then a random yellow unit that spawns there. So these are your German starting points. There's another one here in the middle, and there's one other thing I want to show you guys before we get started. All right, here on the bottom right of the board, you see there's a list of the 6 faces of a die and then a bunch of different rows over here. This is the rest of your German forces. After you set up your starting forces over there to your left, the rest of the, I think it's 30. Let's see, there's a few that don't go in there. So yeah, it should be 30 here. Cubes go on this block. And when you take to get reinforcements into your game, you'll take and roll 6 dice. And let's grab a little handful out here. We'll show you real quick. Roll that. Okay, so we got a 3, 3, 5, and a 2. So let's say this was our roll. We would do 5 normally if we were doing a reinforcement roll, but I'm just showing you for an example. You would take and place these here as such, and those that I have placed dice on would be your reinforcements. All right, cool, real easy. That's how it's done. Now, the thing is if you look over to your right, when you empty out one of these rows, there's a list of other units and it says remove. So once these empty out and you roll that number, that unit gets removed. Okay, now it's only going to get removed if it's on the map itself. If it's not on the map, it's treated as kind of like a no effect. But if you roll the number again, then it still can potentially remove the unit. Let's say you do remove the unit from the map, you'll take and place the unit there, and then effectively that row is blocked off and you don't have to worry about rolling that number anymore. So getting reinforcements is a great thing, but eventually once you start hitting the ends of these rows, it can cost you some of your powerful units. So that is kind of a drawback that you have to be aware of. All right, let's pan back over to the left, and we'll just start the game and kind of show you guys how things work. All right, do bear with me if I goof any small little thing here or there. I am still a little new to the game, but like I said, I'm trying to take and crank out these videos for you guys as quickly as possible. Now, when you start playing the game, it's going to be you perform an action, the Russians perform an action, and it's just going to go back and forth like that. You do have a handful of actions that you can do. Again, I wish they put it on the player aid, but it's not that big of a deal because you'll learn them really quick. There's only a few that you can do. You can either call for reinforcements, which we just talked about, make one long movement, which is moving through clear, if there's not adjacent Russian units, to clear hexes, which are these light white borders. Okay, so you can't do a long movement into rough terrain or through rough terrain, which is this brown border here. The borders that have the circle, which there's one right up here, those are considered urban terrain and they can get rubbled. It's basically the city. So if these guys weren't here, we could do a long movement, bang, bang, going through it like that. You can also do up to 2 short movements, which is moving units just into an adjacent empty hex, but again, you can't do it if you're adjacent to Russian units or moving adjacent to Russian units. Now, you can also do what's called a hasty attack. Now, that's kind of like your move and attack. A hasty attack would be if you took and moved these guys here to attack that guy. Again, you couldn't have guys there next to you. And a deliberate attack, your last action you can do is basically attacking an adjacent unit. That's what I'm going to start off with, is conducting a deliberate attack. Now, just to make things easier on myself, I'm playing with the modifier for easy German play, which gives me a specific starting hand of the three of the German leaders, which gives you special abilities. They aren't going to come into play here, but it's special abilities like the Blitz and Combined Arms. Combined Arms is very cool because if you're attacking into clear terrain and you have both types, so panzers and infantry, which can be met if you have a Panzer Grenadier unit. Do I have one of those? Yep. Panzer Grenadier is one of these little screwballs. All right, the one that has a X and a tank symbol on it, NATO symbol on it. If you have those qualifications, it means you're going to get to attack and do your damage first before the enemy gets to take and attack you. So that's a neat addition to have there. Let's take and just get right on into the attack. I will conduct a deliberate attack here. Deliberate means I could play a card. I don't have any cards that I can play to add to this, as I just start off with the leaders, which just give me a permanent static bonuses right now. And you would also play a Russian card. The Russians don't start with any cards though, so they don't have one at this moment. So we're going to just simply flip the Russian unit. Again, make sure you keep the side oriented directly to you. All right, so this actually worked out very, very well for us. This Russian unit started off, let me get in camera, with just a single dot, a single step up there to the top, which means we only have to do 1 damage to kill him. Now you'll notice the steps are in different colors. All right, so you've got black, white, and red. And that's considered single fire, double fire, or triple fire. A black is single, white is double, red is triple. Red being the best. And that's just effectively what you have to roll on your attack. Now, the way attacks work in this game, it's actually really simple. A unit will attack with as many dice as it has steps. So I am going to have 6 dice versus this Russian unit's single dice. And since my dots are white, I'm going to hit and cause a step loss on a 5 or 6. Since theirs is black, they're only going to cause a step loss on a 6. And then if any of ours had red, they would cause step losses on 4, 5, or 6. So let me gather together here. 6 dice. All right, I got 6 for me. And I'm using my double 6s because I like these dice. And I got 1 for Screwball there. Let's take and throw this in. And we will roll all of these and see what kind of attack we get. All right. I got a 5 on that one. So this actually worked out pretty well for me. They got a 3, so they did not get a hit. I got a 1, 2, 3, and then 3 5s. My 5s do count as hits, so I've done more than enough to kill him. He's going to be taken off the board and put into the little baggie. This is also why I like using the bag, because I don't have to worry about stacking them back on the board. Now, once you clear out a hex, the move up after advance after combat is mandatory. So I don't have to move up both units, but I will in this case move up both because I want to clear out this spawn hex. You can tell it's got the border around it, which shows me what units that I can spawn there. That way I can do a reinforcement action here on my next one. All right, so let's pan back out and see what the Russians are going to do. All right, so this actually confused me a little when I was first reading it, and this is another drawback to the game, should we say. You can tell that the rulebook was written originally in another language and translated to English. But to me, it came across like it was written by someone who understood war games, but translated by someone who maybe didn't. You guys get what I'm saying? It's not poorly written. Like, there's nothing wrong with the English grammatically is what I'm trying to say here. But if it had been maybe a wargamer translating it, it might have been written in a different format. It took me a sec to understand what they were talking about. Like, what do you mean top stacked? And what's going on with this? And basically, I think they could have fleshed out the rulebook just a little bit more than they did. An extra sentence or two here or there, just fleshing out what they meant about certain things could have saved a little bit of time on some people's parts, but it's not a big deal. What they talk about in the game is something called top stacked, and that controls the Russian AI. Let me grab one of these player aids here and I'll show you guys what I am talking about. Actually, let me use the back of the rulebook because it is bigger. When it says here, start Russian Soviet turn, their turn, they're going to do an action. Your Germans are going to do an action. Again, it's just going back and forth. And you're going to use this little chart to determine what they do. Your first thing is number of top stacked hexes is greater than 0. A top stacked hex is when you look around the board, they're talking about how many units are in each hex, okay? So right now, every hex only has 1 unit in it. So it has something like 23 or 22 top stacked hexes. When it starts spawning in units, then you're going to have some hexes that only have or have 2 or 3 or 4 units in them. And at that point, you're going to have just 2 or 3 that are top stacked, all right, that have the most amount of units. That's what it took me a sec, and I felt kind of stupid after I figured it out. I was like, okay, now I get what the hell they're talking about. Okay, so now we're going to look at the number of top stacked hexes is greater than the Soviet spawn hex. Well, it is, because our Soviet spawn hexes, there's 6 of those, okay? So since there's 20-some hexes out there that are top stacked, that number is greater, which tells us that they're going to do a spawn action. And then you're just going to take in spawn units when or for each one of those spawn hexes there along the back, along the Volga. And the coolest part about it is those hexes have the symbol of the units that you're spawning. So tank and an infantry over there, tank here, infantry, 2 infantry, infantry, tank and an infantry. That way it makes it a hell of a lot easier when you're taking and putting your guys out. So let's take and grab out some units and see what we get. Now, I think, how many am I going to need? 1, 2, 3 tanks. So let's grab out 3 tanks. We'll flip them face down. All right. Random tanks. Come on, go to face down for me. Face down, face down. All right. That's the tanks. And what I like to do, just to ensure I get random, is I spin these little buggers just like so, and then place them in the hexes that they belong. And 1 over here. Now we need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 infantry. We'll draw those out randomly as well out of our little bag here. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm gonna say 6. Yeah, 6. All right, so we got 6 random infantry. Put these guys down and we'll flip them over. And I do like how some of them do have that thing where you'll see that they start out at full power, they're at white dots, and then they go to black dots, and maybe it starts out with red dots and goes to black dots. That's just really cool to me. All right, so spinning them a little far. So we'll spin that guy, spin that guy, spin that guy, spin it, spin it, spin it. All right, so we'll put these guys around. 1 there, 2 here, and 1 here, and 1 here. All right, so now that we've got those done, we have 3 top stacked hexes. We've got 1 that has 3 over there, 1 that has 3 right here, and then 1 that has 3 up here in the corner. So when we look at this again, is the number of top stacked hexes greater than the Soviet spawn hexes? That answer is going to be no. And that's when we're going to conduct move actions for these guys. And you're going to conduct a move action for each one of their top stacked hexes. So it works out pretty well once you get the system down and you start actually playing the game. All right, so let's pan down and we'll conduct my next action, their next action. We'll probably call the video at that point. Okay, I'm going to take and do my next attack over here. And I'm very specifically going after this hex, and it's because it's a clear hex. I'm going to do what's called a hasty attack by moving this stack of units into this hex and then attacking. So it's not a deliberate attack, I'm doing a move first. That means that I don't play a card, but again, I don't have a card right now, so it doesn't matter anyway. They still don't have a card, so they won't be playing. Now, the reason I am moving this group instead of this group is because this group has tanks and Panzer Grenadiers. That means that since I have my bonus from the leader, I get to do what's called a combined attack, and I get to roll my dice before they get to roll their dice. Only surviving units get to attack me back. So it pays to do this. I could also do a hasty attack here against this group, which would technically be better because it's heading in the direction I want to go. But unfortunately, these guys are in rough terrain, so it's not going to help me as much. Now, if I were playing the game just straight out instead of just to kind of show you guys, I'd probably go this way anyway, but I want to show off the combined forces. So we're going to take and move these guys here, That's going to be my Hasty Attack. We'll flip these guys over. Make sure you keep side up. Now again, you guys see that it is the blank side that is up top. When that happens, you spin it so that it does have a single dot, so it does have a chance to attack back. More than likely, it's going to get just blown the hell out, but we'll take and give them their chances anyway. In this case, they will have a single die, and I will have, what is this? 9 dice. Okay, let me roll all my dice first, since they're probably not going to get to attack back. Now, and again, like I said earlier, I know this unit's not supposed to be there. That is a typo that is in the rule book for one of the units that is located here, and I just missed it when I was doing setup and didn't want to dig around trying to find that. So again, you won't have this blue guy. You'll have 2 sets of Panzer Grenadiers. But I've got 9 dice total, okay? 6 of them are white, which means they're going to be hitting on 5s or 6s, and 3 of them are red, which means they're going to be hitting on 4, 5, or 6. So my orange dice are going to be for my 5s and 6s, and the purple and yellow is going to be for my 4, 5s, and 6s. Let's roll this and see what we get. Oh, that was actually pretty close. No, it wasn't. Let's see. 1 hit, 2 hits, 3 hits, 4 hits, 5 hits. Yeah, he was just obliterated. And again, since it was a combined arms attack for me, it means that I do not have to take and let them roll. It's not a simultaneous attack. Now, I do have Blitzkrieg ability as well. Let me look that up real quick. After completing the advance after combat into a clear hex, each German Blitz unit, dark background, which those guys are, that advanced may move again into any adjacent empty of enemy units clear hex. This stack may split up as desired. Okay, well that's interesting. So basically, since we cleared them out, I have to move there, but I could take and either move all of them there, move all of them back to the hex they were in, or split them up. Let me see here. Which way do I want to go with this? I wouldn't mind getting an extra movement in, because you don't move that fast in this. Kind of thinking bringing them back around so I can send them up in this direction to go after those guys, or I can go in this way and try to pinch them. Yeah, we'll go this way. So I'll give them 1 extra movement. That is my Blitz Combat. So came in with a Hasty Attack, took them out with combined arms. They didn't get to attack back. And then because of the Blitz special ability, I got to move 1 extra hex with my dark background units. All right, let's pan back out and see what the Russians are going to do. Okay, again, like we were talking about previously, they have 3 top stacked hexes right now, okay? So their top stacked hexes are not greater than their spawn. They're going to conduct a move action. That means we're going to take and roll a single die for each one of the top stacked hexes, and it's going to cause these results. So let's do that real quick and just see what we get. We'll grab 3 dice and we'll see what we get, because you do these one at a time and you place the dice around. All right, first one there on the far left, he got a 4. We'll place that over there if I can keep it on the 4. Where's my 4? There it is. All right, he got a 4. Second one got a 1. He goes right there. And third one got another 4. Okay. Now, let's see. A 1 is going to be an attack or a card. This group up here, they can't attack, so they're definitely going to get a card. Now, the others, let's take and zoom in on it, and I'll show you guys what I'm talking about. Okay, so you see this stack of 3 units here. In this border hex, they got a roll of a 4 that I've got laid here with them. And what you're looking at is this up here, okay? This is going to show you where their movement's going to go. All you've got to do is take a look at it and conduct your movement. Number 4 is in this direction, actually dead south. So you take a random unit. Let's pan it down just a little bit. You're going to take a random unit. We'll take the middle one, and it conducts the movement. Just one, not the entire stack. That's all you got to do. If there are German units that are there, they'll conduct a hasty attack in that situation, and it'll be resolved just the same way that the German attack is. Okay, so we're going to take and pop this one off. They already drew a card for that one, and then this 4 up here again is going to move one of their random units down into the other hex. So now that changed their top stacked hexes, all right? Since they moved units around, they only have one hex that has a 3. So again, they have a 1. They're going to conduct another move action, and that's how it's going to go. That's the basics of the turn. It's really not that hard once you kind of get the system down. The card play does throw a lot more into it. When we pick back up in the next video, I might take and push the game along a little bit, play it a little off camera until I get some units up here near the city, so you guys can see how rubbling is going to work and how some of the card play is going to work, that it's going to change some of the dice and some of the rubble rolls, because there is the chance to rubble the buildings here, which actually provides a bonus to the defender, which the Russians more often than not are the defenders, so that makes things a lot better on them. But you guys will see that here when we get into the next video. I appreciate you guys watching. Y'all take care. I'll catch you in the next one.